During the Power Rangers SPD two-parter, SWAT, our SPD B Squad Rangers go through a training exercise with Sergeant Silverback, who eventually gives them access to their brand new SWAT modes, which stands for Special Weapons and Tactics. And these are the original Bandai America figures that were released as the Sound Patrol figures that retailed for like $7 back in 2005, and we have the whole set of them here, plus a couple of extras that we're going to be taking a look at in a little bit later part of this video, which is going to be kind of the title of the video, the SPD SWAT modes that we saw on screen and never saw on screen. So these are those figures, and they're pretty cool. I figured we're going to go ahead and take a look at them here today and just kind of see, what these Power Rangers figures from 2005 were like. Now, these I bought secondhand from my good buddy Corey, Frozen Stratos on Twitter, also part of the Geek Each Week live show that we do every Friday night. And so he sold these to me back in like July at this point. I've had them for a good amount of time and just haven't bothered to make a video on them until today. So he sold me 7 of them. Of course, here's the core 5, and they're pretty cool. SWAT mode is something that I would really like to see us get in the Lightning collection. I don't think it'd be too difficult for them to do it. It would just require like some new leg armor, chest armor, and a helmet. So I think it would be relatively simple. So obviously, as you can see here, we have 2 different molds of figures, our male figures and our female figures. They did bother to make separate molds for them, which is greatly appreciated. Sometimes in the original older Bandai figures, they wouldn't bother to do that, which is weird, but I also kind of get it. So now these were the Sound Patrol figures, which means at one point in time, you clicked a button, they made sound. Kind of like this guy that we took a look at a couple weeks ago, the In Space Silver figure. They have a button on their buckle, and these ones have that obviously, but none of them have batteries in them, or if they do, they're long dead. And I don't have any extras to change them out right now, so unfortunately we will not be able to hear what these sound like here today. Maybe I could upload like a short little follow-up someday whenever I get batteries in them. But let's go ahead and take a look at each of them. So we have Jack, SPD Red, and they're pretty good. They're pretty nicely detailed. They're pretty nicely painted. They're maybe a little bulky, maybe a little bulkier than they should be, but I'm not saying that as like a detriment, I guess. I think they are still pretty good. So let's look at the detail. On the back, you can see where I'm assuming like the pull tab would have been and like the little battery compartment. So there is that. Articulation wise, you can move their arms around. You can move them out like that. They can rotate there. They can bend there, just a single elbow joint there, and their hands can rotate. I'm also missing the weapons for these, if you did not notice that. The legs can move back and forth. They can move outward. They can bend at the knee. And they can rotate right up there at the thigh. So not too bad. Not like, the most articulated things ever. And of course their heads, not on a ball joint, but they can rotate 360. And I think they're pretty nicely detailed. You have the kind of microphone headset thing there, which looks nice, and the little gadgetry on the side there. Of course, a lot of these, the chests are pretty similar. There's a little bit of a speaker hole there for when you would click this buckle piece in and make it make sounds. You can see they molded the SPD logo there, which I think it looks really nice. And then you have the 1 on the chest and everything like that. And that's basically Jack. Now, when we look at Sky and Bridge, they're going to be very similar to Jack. So here is Sky, and I think the helmet looks nice. I think these helmets probably maybe look a little bit better than their Lightning Collection counterparts because they're all painted correctly and the right visor trim and everything. Of course, the only new pieces really are the helmet and the 2 on his chest, which is to be expected. And of course we have Bridge next, if I can get Sky to stand up. So there is our buttery friend right there. So there he is. You can kind of hear these older figures kind of have just a certain kind of crinkle in the plastic, I guess. I don't know if I even picked up on the camera, but I don't know, they just sound nice. That's weird, but I don't even know if anyone knows what I'm trying to say there. But we have the female mold here with Z. So, our like only figure of the main team we don't have in the Lightning Collection. So hopefully we get her sooner rather than later. So you can see the female mold is basically the same thing. They're just a little bit thinner, as you'd expect. But articulation-wise, you still have the arms. They actually cannot go out. So that actually is different. You cannot move the arms out on the female ones, but you can still bend them there. The wrists still turn, the heads still turn, The knees still bend and rotate at the thigh, and you can still move the legs out, but yeah, you can't move those arms out, which is quite strange. And they still have the belt buckle right there. You have the 4 on her chest, and there's her helmet. So that looks pretty solid. Same kind of setup here on the back. And then, of course, Sid is going to be basically the same thing as Z. So here she is with the 5 on her chest, and the helmet and everything, and all the details. So these are also in really pretty good condition, besides, not having the sounds working right now and not having their weapons. But for a set of SPD Rangers in their SWAT mode, I think they work pretty well. So what's cool about these figures is that for this Sound Patrol line, yes, they did the core 5, the ones you actually saw in the show. However, there were more Rangers than this in SPD who never got SWAT modes. They never got SWAT modes in Deca Ranger, they never got them in SPD, but this Bandai toy line did actually bother to make them, and for these 2 specific Rangers right here, the Shadow Ranger and the Omega Ranger, which is what I really wanted to take a look at here today. These never before seen SWAT modes, or that were never seen on screen, only in the toy line. And these are pretty sweet. I think one probably works a little bit better than the other one, so let's go ahead and take a look at them here. So I'll just move the team back a little bit so we can kind of, bring our other members into focus. So here is SPD SWAT for Shadow Ranger and Omega Ranger. So this is really cool. We never really see team power-ups get extended to other members of the team. Pretty much never do we get to see that. So to see Bandai actually bother to make these happen in the toy line is something that I really wanted to collect. And one of the main reasons why I bought this whole set of figures from Corey is because he had the 2 of them included, and I really wanted them. So here is Omega Ranger in its SWAT mode. So what's really cool is that they basically took the same kind of design that you would expect from the SWAT modes and just bothered to make it fit the Omega Ranger. They gave him the same kind of leg armor. They gave him the same kind of back armor and chest armor. They did not put a regular 6 there. They kept it correct with the Roman numerals. A little strange because you can see, the chest of the Omega Ranger, the V is right here and the 1 is right there, or the I is right there. For, the V and the I, the 6. But for this one, to fit the 6 on the chest, there's you can still see part of the original V here. Well, these ones kind of cover the numbers where they originally were. His is just kind of there twice, but it's just kind of how the design of this works out. Now, they actually did not do anything to his helmet. They did not give him the same kind of headset piece or anything like that. They just kept that exactly the same, and I think it works. I don't think he necessarily needs it. I think he still has a unique enough look in the SWAT mode armor here for them to not need to put that there. But yeah, he does look like the Omega Ranger. It's still mostly just a repaint of the other 5 of the male figures, but they did mold the new 6 there in the helmet, and that's pretty sweet. Now, of course, we also have one for Shadow Ranger, and I think this one is probably, out of the 2 new ones, the 2 unique ones, probably the one that I think works the less, because I think it just still kind of looks pretty much just like regular Shadow. I think SWAT just doesn't really integrate into his as good as it does on Omega. I think it really works with Omega here, but I think it's just because you already kind of have the armor on the original Shadow Ranger, so it's you don't necessarily need to give Shadow Ranger armor because he already kind of has it. So he has the 100 molded on there, which is a little chipped on mine, but no big deal. So that is pretty much just covering where the 100 was the last time, but they did give him the leg armor and everything. He has that back armor, which is basically just a new chest plate, a little bit different from the one he usually would have. On this side profile, unless you really notice those 2 things, you'd probably just think it's just normal Shadow Ranger, especially because they didn't change the helmet or anything like that. That's still the exact same, but it doesn't look bad. It still looks cool. I like the 100 in the SWAT mode design and everything, and I think it is neat. I just think that it's cool that they bothered to make more SWAT mode designs, because not only did they make these 2 figures to add to the core team to actually have all 7 of our Rangers in SWAT mode, there was also an SPD Orange Ranger in SWAT mode that was briefly seen in the Power Rangers Super Legends video game. Now, granted, that one didn't even really have the accurate SPD orange that we saw during that dream sequence episode. It actually had a repainted of red there. But we did briefly get to see, it's all pixelated and you can barely make out the details, but you can tell by the gray details on the chest that it would have been him in a SWAT mode design, which is actually kind of neat. We never got a figure of that or anything like that. And then technically there's one other SWAT mode that we never saw on screen, and that was the fire mode for red. We actually got to see that first of all, in Deca Ranger 10 years after, but in the only Power Rangers way it was ever used is it was used on a holiday card for the Soul of the Dragon comic. When we saw the current iteration of the SPD team, we saw that Bridge as SPD Red had the Fire Mode armor, which is just a repaint of the SWAT mode. So SWAT mode really got around. It got a lot of good figures, it got a lot of good originality over here in the US and everything. So, if you just want to get the core 5, especially since those figure arts never happened that were shown off at that one show, or you can get the other 2 and have a core team of 7 and have like the whole team have SWAT mode armors there. So let's go ahead and kind of display everybody more front and center like we had earlier, but this time add everybody in the shot. So that is pretty much gonna do it for this video here today. I just wanted to take a look at the original kind of Bandai SPD figures for the SWAT modes and kind of go over a bunch of SWAT modes that we saw but not necessarily saw on screen, or that we never saw in anything other than just the toys. So I'd love to hear you guys have to say down in the comments below. Did you collect these figures? Did you even know they made figures of SPD, Omega, and Shadow in SWAT mode? Did you play the Super Legends video game? Would you like to see what SPD Cat and Nova would have looked like with SWAT mode? Because they're like pretty much the only members that never got to even have it in a toy format, which I think would look pretty cool to see how those ones would turn out. And yeah, I'd love to see these appear in some kind of like comic or something, make the SWAT mode Omega and Shadow, especially the Omega, a little bit more of an in-canon official thing. I think would be pretty cool. I think there's a lot of opportunities for them to make this a little bit more of an official thing. And also, would you like to see them in the Lightning Collection? Anything you guys would like to say, I'd love to hear it down in the comments below. So until next time, you can follow me on Twitter at LiveandReachAKey or at LightningFigPR, and I'll see you all next time.